Hi, everybody. I'm Katy Pracht Phares. I am the General Coordinator of MicroOperas here at Bowling Green State University. And we are doing our fourth and final interview of the composer today. This is for our performances that happen this Friday, February 18th at 8 o'clock p.m. in Bryan Hall here at the Music Building. And our composer today is Gibbs, who has composed the opera What Was. So welcome, Connor. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. So can you tell our audience what your school major is and what year you are in and where you're from?
Sure. So I am originally from Western Massachusetts, and I originally have a background as a singer. I studied singing originally, and in between my degree programs, I actually taught public choral high school for 3 years. But I'm here now in Ohio studying just composition, and this is my second year, final semester in the composition program.
Hey, wonderful.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's great. And so you're a singer. Do you play any other instruments too?
Well, I really like to bow metallophones, but
I don't even know what that is.
like glockenspiel and vibraphone. But I'm not a real percussionist. I just pretend. I pretend to be a percussionist.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
So that was your primary instrument, you would say, is the voice?
Oh, for sure.
And then you also are a composer. So do you like writing for any specific? Do you like writing for voices for that reason?
I don't write for voices that often. Believe it or not, I actually write for strings the most, or I enjoy writing for strings quite a lot.
I'm looking forward to hearing more of your music.
Oh,
That's
thank
great.
you.
Yeah. And then who's your teacher here at BGSU?
So my current teacher I'm working with is Dr. Marilyn Shrewd.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. And she, of course, runs this whole program here, the MicroOperas program, but also the doctoral program here. So that's wonderful. I'm happy to hear that you two are working together.
Yeah.
Could you just tell us how you became a composer? How did that
Sure.
kind of happen for you?
Well, back in the day, I enjoyed, experimenting on, whatever music program that we had access to in high school. But I'd really say I got bitten by the bug in Music Theory 3 or Music Theory 4. And I found out that my professor, the theory professor at the time in my undergrad, he was a composer and he taught composition lessons. So I said, ooh, I want to try that. And I had fun with my Theory 4 final project. So then the next year, my junior year of undergrad, I studied composition with somebody else. But after that, I studied for 2 years. And during my teaching years, I just composed on the side because it was something I was really passionate about, communicating stories. And my imagination is a little too wild sometimes, so get it out there.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And so you were saying you like to compose for stories, and that brings me to the question about the libretto for your opera. Can you tell us about who your librettist is for this show?
Sure. So when I was in high school, I actually I performed an acting monologue by this really wonderful writer, poet, playwright. His name is Richard Ballon. Okay. Richard is from the Northampton, Amherst region of Western Massachusetts. Okay. And we stayed in touch over the years, and I spoke to him like, hey, I want to write this opera for the MicroOperas. I want to submit this project proposal. And he's the one person I know who can really write a knockout text of any kind. So it just seemed obvious to me. I've seen some of his work. I've done some of his work. Let's now team up, like me as an adult in a creative field. Oh, so he's the one has written the libretto for What Was.
Wonderful, wonderful. And the libretto is really a fantastic story. It's an interesting story, which I'll have you talk about in just a second.
Sure.
But just the idea of a MicroOpera's composer, somebody who's at the school, having access and reaching out to somebody who's outside of the school for your project to supply your libretto. I think that's a wonderful thing, and it gives you real world experience in doing that.
Yeah.
So that's great. Will Richard be able to view at least the live stream?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
I have to double check his schedule.
I'll have to send him the link for
yeah,
that too.
yeah.
Wonderful.
He was gonna come out, but then there was, a really bad Omicron concern recently, so he did not book out any flights to come. But he was going to.
Well, I'm happy that the Massachusetts connection is something that you two have found together.
Yes.
And are doing that.
Never forget who you meet, ever.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Unless bad things. So. Keep things positive if we can.
So can you tell us about your MicroOpera then? The name of the MicroOpera, and then just a few sentences about kind of the summary of what the synopsis is?
Sure. So the opera is called What Was, and a big theme with the opera is reflection. The main characters, Daphne and Will, they purchase a mirror. Well, I'd say Daphne purchases a mirror. Will has to deal with it. So there's this giant mirror, and we get this idea of reflection and really reflecting inward. So we get sort of this trip down memory lane for both of these characters, and we may or may not meet another character that has to do with reflections. I don't want to share too much, but keep an eye out for some other element. But this idea, there's a backstory that we reflect on. It's probably sad. Get a tissue, or get a nice beverage of water to keep the throat.
Keep it loose and free.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. And so, so what inspired you to compose for this story? Was this Richard Ballon's idea, or? So
Richard had originally created this short play. He's written a lot of short plays, monologues, poems, and this was sort of a project that was never completely finished, or in this form it wasn't presented. So we revisited the story, and I was really compelled by some of the imagery and some of the, this other character I've mentioned was actually, really, really interesting in this other version. And I was inspired. I was like, I want to use these ideas. So we adapted this play with more than 3 characters into 3 characters with some modified backgrounds and stories. And here we are. Here we are.
That's great. And do you remember the name of the play that it's taken from? We'll have, if not, we'll go ahead and write that into the comment section of this interview too.
Yeah. I don't remember what it was.
The name of the play. Yeah. I will. I'll include that because that sounds great. Sounds like something I would like to read more about too.
For
to just
sure.
Find that out. That's wonderful. Is there? So you mentioned this mirror, right, or the reflection, the frame. Can you talk any about things that are related to visual imagery and that might be reflected in the music? Do you have anything like that?
Well, I'd say that each character has a few sort of musical ideas associated with them, like some small themes, like thinking in film music terms, that sort of come back and swirl around. So you might hear snippets of that throughout the piece.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. And then is there any, so just kind of a sound world, our composers that we have composing for us for this year, everybody has kind of a different sound world. It's colors that we might hear, instrumentation that we might hear, is this kind of like standard traditional opera, or?
I would say it leans probably more in that traditional direction. I know that some people have commented on, the consonants in my vocal writing, but I will say that it's not strictly classical. Like here's our 1-5-1s, of course, but something sonically familiar, but ready to shift at a moment's notice, based on, the scene, the setting that we're currently in.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. All right. So is there anything else that you would like to tell our MicroOperas audience, our viewers here? Is there anything else that you want to squeeze in that you haven't had a chance to say about yourself or about the show that we're about to see? Anything that you want to prep anybody with?
Well, I'd say, take a look at yourself in the mirror and think about, you know, what's in your backstory, as then we look ahead and see, you know, how does someone else maybe go through their backstory. So, you know, it's a good time to check in with yourself, and, you know, so we can check in with this story, and I hope you'll be moved. I think it's a very emotional and very compelling story. And, you know, this is like a representative of some of my music. I like to try out different things, but I'd say this is definitely a narrative sort of piece. I have some pieces that are, you wander off into outer space, you know, maybe not scary sounds, but open and distant. But I'd say this is all very personal and not like in your face, but it's right there.
Cool.
So
that's great. Well, you spoke about other music that you have.
Yep.
Where could our audience find out more about you?
Well, if you want to know more about me, you can go to my website, which is connorgibbs.com. And I have links to other accounts and such on there, but that's where you can go to really see all the catalog and some upcoming performances and events, even concerts I'm hosting. So there's a lot on the calendar.
And can people listen to music on your website as well?
Yes, they can.
Wonderful.
Yes, they can.
Okay. Well, this has been Connor Gibbs here with me. I'm Katy Pracht Phares. Thanks again for being here with me, Connor. And if we would love to have you come join us this Friday, February 18th at 8:00 p.m. in Bryan Hall. You can see Connor Gibbs' What Was, as well as 3 other micro operas performed by our BGSU students. And if you can't attend live, we are going to be live streaming on the BGSU Music channel. So you can find us on the YouTube BGSU Music to live stream there. Thank you so much.
See you there.
Bye.
Thanks.